Well, this morning I signed an executive order issuing a state of emergency due to the threat posed by Hurricane Elsa. As of this morning, the National Hurricane Center reported that it was a Category 1 at 75 miles an hour. They just issued the 11 a.m. advisory, and it was downgraded to a tropical storm. So I think what we're dealing with is a strong tropical storm right on the edge of a Category 1 hurricane, but fortunately has gone just a little bit below. So there's about 70 mile per hour sustained winds that have been registered. Now the impacts from the storm, whether it's a strong tropical storm or a weak hurricane, will begin affecting the Florida Keys and portions of the South Florida Peninsula as early as Monday. Possibly spreading northward through the peninsula on Tuesday, depending on the track. So we're preparing for the risk of isolated tornadoes, storm surge, heavy rainfall, and flash flooding. Now the track or the severity of the storm is still uncertain. The state of emergency applies to the following counties: Charlotte, Citrus, Collier, DeSoto, Hardee, Hernando, Hillsborough, Lee, Levy, Manatee, Miami-Dade, Monroe, Pasco, Pinellas, and Sarasota counties. You're looking at a track that is going to go pass over probably the western portion of Cuba, end up in the Florida Straits, and then start impacting Florida, with the eye of the storm right now looking to be on the west side of Florida. And so we obviously do what we do when it comes to the tropical storms and the hurricanes. That's just what we do. Kevin Guthrie has been designated as the state coordinating officer for the duration of the storm. Our executive order will assist the division and the state emergency response team in responding, prepared for potential impact. Now, as we mentioned yesterday, we have a building here in Surfside that is tottering. It is structurally unsound, and although the eye of the storm is not likely to pass over this direction, you could feel gusts in this area. We don't know. It's definitely a possibility. And so I know the mayor and both mayors have supported demolishing the building. We brought in on the state level the Department of Transportation engineers to examine the remaining structure and propose different paths forward for demolition. I'm pleased to announce the state will pay for all costs associated with the demolition of the remaining structure. Yesterday we spoke with both County Mayor Cava and City Mayor Burkett's teams, who made the decision to pursue the demolition for the building. I'm supportive of it. I think it's the right thing to do. At the end of the day, that building is too unsafe to let people go back in. I know there's a lot of people who were able to get out, fortunately, who have things there. We're very sensitive to that, but I don't think there's any way you could let somebody go up in that building given the shape that it's in now. And so if the building is taken down, this will protect our search and rescue teams because we don't know when it could fall over. And of course, with these gusts potentially, that would create a really severe hazard. So our mission is to expedite it as soon as possible. Kevin Guthrie reports to me that once everything is ready to go, that it can be brought down within 36 hours. And so it will entail minimal work stoppage from the search and rescue. They would have to stop a little bit before and a little bit after just to make sure that there were no fires, but it probably the most minimal interruption in terms of the course of action they're pursuing. So Floridians, just watch this. You're not likely to, it's a beautiful day today, the best day we've had here for sure. You're not likely to see any impacts today or tomorrow, but as we get into Monday, if you're in very southern Florida and then other parts of Florida, as we get into Tuesday, anticipate some impacts. We're hopeful that the storm just doesn't have enough runway to gain much speed and strength before it reaches our peninsula. But again, these things are just things that we have to watch. But we do feel pretty confident that we are going to be experiencing at least a tropical storm that's going to impact a lot of communities in Florida. And with that, I can take a couple questions.
Governor, please, just one quick question, sir. After a week of this mass press coverage and the world watching, what would you like the rest of the world to take from this effort from the Florida state, the people of Surfside, and what does the people of Surfside and the city of Florida need from the world that is watching right now?
Well, it's a good question. What can people take? I would just say that this was a tragedy unlike others that we've seen, just because you would not think a building would just collapse in the middle of the night. And so I think the shock was unlike anything I've ever seen. I think the angst, particularly of the families, not knowing if they had loved ones in that building. The folks that were able to escape was obviously a very traumatic experience there. But you saw people come together very quickly. Obviously, the search and rescue, they've been doing this nonstop. We've been able to work from municipal, county, state, federal, and international. I mean, we had the Israelis here. I met with the Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Yesterday. And so I think people have been captivated by it because it's such an awful thing. It's like, there for the grace of God go I. I mean, so I think what it should tell people is don't take anything for granted. Make sure you tell people that are close to you that you love them. Make sure you hug those. I mean, I hug my kids anyways because I love them more than anything. But when you see something like that, you think about there were kids in the tower, and then now all of a sudden, people's lives have been shattered, and so don't take anything for granted. The resilience of this community, South Florida, and our country, has been remarkable, and I'm very proud to be associated with it. And I think that that's just what we do in Florida. But at the same time, I mean, man, if you're out and just living your life, just understand that there can be tragedies that occur. You never know, and just make sure that you appreciate what you got.
Governor, how will this impact the fates of those who are still unaccounted for?
So we hope it will impact it in a minimal way. Obviously, the more the storm pushes west, the 11 a.m. advisory actually nudged it back a little east. The further west the storm tracks, the less likely you're going to have impacts here in Surfside. However, given this plan, and if this plan's able to go forward, it's the opinion of the Division of Emergency Management and Director Guthrie that this building can be brought down prior to those impacts. And so if you have the building down and you start to see wind pick up, that may not even necessitate them stopping at all at that point. It depends. If they are out there, though, and you start to get some of these gusts with that structure there, that would be a real hazard, and I would imagine it would likely cause them to do a work stoppage. So taking the building down, given the fact that the storm is coming, and given the fact you were going to have to do this anyways, is the prudent thing to do, and I think it will lead to the course of action that most minimally disrupts the rescue efforts.
When will that come down?
What's that?
When will the building come down?
I know Kevin is working with Mayor Burkett and Cava. I know they got to sign they got a contractor do it, but they are doing that right now, and I'd imagine Mayor Cava is going to have that announcement relatively short order.
Governor DeSantis, yesterday we were being told that engineers and everyone are looking at the plans and that it would probably take a few weeks to be able to coordinate such a difficult mission to take the building down. What changed?
Well, maybe Kevin, you want to just speak to that because I know you were involved in it.
Did you tell the families? Did you talk to the families this morning, and how did they receive this news?
So the second question I'm going to let Mayor Cava talk about because Mayor Cava talked to those individuals. In emergency management, we make the best decision on the information we have at the time. And when Mayor Cava came up here, and I'm sure she's going to reiterate this, she made the best decision on the information she had at the time. A couple of hours later, another not a contractor, but another set of engineers came in and gave a new briefing, which allowed there to be an opportunity for us to be able to do something different. And again, I want to give Mayor Cava the opportunity to come up here and give those details, okay? Thank you.
As you know, sir, as you know.
Explosives or
What's that?
how will it be done, with explosives or a wrecking ball? Or
I'll let the mayor talk about that, but I think what Kevin is talking about is, bringing it straight down with a charge, some type of charge.
What analysis were you given that led you to make this decision before those winds strike?
In terms of the building,
Yeah.
Well, that was
How at
obviously
risk was
that was obviously a decision that the mayor had jurisdiction. So she made the decision. We're supportive of it. We think it, given the circumstances, is the best thing to do because you'd hate to see there'd be another disaster out there with this building being, if it falls in the wrong way, that would really put us back. And so, given the difficult circumstances, I think both Surfside and Miami-Dade are making the best decision under the circumstances. And again, we pledged support from the beginning to be able to work through this problem. We sent the engineering know-how, and then we are going to handle the costs of it. and we're happy to do that.
As you know, the east side of a storm is always a major concern. If the models wobble, will that accelerate the bringing down of the building?
I think that will be dependent on what the mayor's doing, but I don't know that we would get impacts here. If this thing starts moving quickly, I think it would all be done even if we did get a wobble east, because we probably wouldn't be looking at impacts here till, what do you think, Kevin, maybe late Monday, early Tuesday?
Monday, Tuesday. Yes.
Yeah, so we do have some time. And that's why when we do these things for the hurricanes, I mean, we just want to give people the ability to prepare. The counties that we've enunciated, you know, that can change as the storm of the track changes. If it does go west, we could even take Miami-Dade out of it if there's not going to be an impact in Miami-Dade. If it stays closer east, then obviously potentially as we get into northern Florida, we're probably going to have to add some counties in the interior. So that's all there. We're ready. We're watching every track and making whatever adjustments that we need to do. Final thing I'll just say before I head back, and I'm going to do some more stops here, and then I will be in the EOC in Tallahassee later. But my wife and I were able to go back to the memorial wall down the street. I was there early on in this, and man, it's the amount of outpouring you see has grown exponentially. It was very moving, because when I first went, I knew some of the families. Now I've met a lot more of them, and so I recognize these folks, and I've heard stories about what their lives and what they meant to their family and friends. So it was really moving, and you know, I look at that, and it's such a range. I mean, you have people who lived a full life at age 90 plus. You have young kids. You have some of these younger adults in the prime of their life have all this opportunity ahead of them. You know, very, very special group of people. So it's you know, the communities come together, and I think that's made it easier. I know the families really appreciate all the support, but it's tough, and it's really been difficult to see. I'm going to be going to a service for one of the synagogues up in Aventura. They have some of their congregates, you know, lived in that building and are still missing. And so, you know, this impact, you know, up and down this coast. You see it in a whole bunch of different community organizations, religious organizations. I mean, it's really touched a lot of people, and you know, we've put obviously a lot of effort into it as a state and as a local community, and we'll continue to do it. But you know, it's been real difficult, because I think you don't expect to see something like this, and it just touched a lot of people. So we'll have more updates on the hurricane shortly. So.